it's Purim in Israel. Hey everybody, I'm Ron Kander and you're watching Revive Live, a cooperative effort from Revive Israel and Tikkun Global Messianic Family. And Asher, we are celebrating Purim today.
Yes, we're right in the middle of the Feast of Esther.
Okay, now our listeners, watchers, viewers, they don't know what Purim is, many of them. Tell us what Purim is. Well, but before you do that, let me just say real quick to you guys, would you please like this post, share this post, tell us where you're from, write something in the comment section, that would be great, and we want to give you a free gift. If you will go to alignmentbook.org, we will give you Asher's, he doesn't know this, but we're going to give you his book free. Is that okay?
Is that okay with me? I don't know. Did you ask me?
But we're going to give you his book free. Go to alignmentbook.org. It's a great book. You want to read it. And we're celebrating Purim. Asher, tell me, what is Purim? Where is it in the Bible?
Well, Purim is basically the celebration of what's in the book of Esther, what we call the scroll of Esther. The events there, the Purim is a celebration to remind us of that. In fact, it's even said at the end of the book of Esther, it says that we are supposed to celebrate this every year at this time. And it's known in Israel this month, which
so wait, you're saying, I've heard someone say that every Jewish holiday is primarily, they tried to kill us, God saved us. Let's eat.
Let's eat, right? So we have a lot of food and fun on this. This is a very fun holiday, although the story is actually a pretty serious story. But it is actually said in the Bible to celebrate. It's not one of the standard Torah, Law of Moses celebrations. It's a later one, but it is in the Bible, and we're told to celebrate and be happy. It's one of the holidays that emphasizes being happy. And there's even a saying in Israel that when this month comes in, which is the last month of the winter, when this comes in, we're supposed to start being happy. And that's all, there's a happiness, a fun feeling connected with the holiday of Purim.
Yes, and some people even take that too far, where in Orthodox Judaism, you're giving a license to get plastered on
To
Purim.
get drunk, yes, it's true.
I was in Jerusalem a few years ago, and there was one plastered individual who was bouncing down the road, nearly bumped into me. But Asher, tell me, how do Israelis celebrate Purim all over the world, all over, in schools all over Israel? Tell me, what do they do?
Well, this is what they do. What Israelis do is they get dressed up in costumes.
Yes.
It's actually, I want to tell there's a little difference between the way the Orthodox Jews celebrate Purim and the secular Jews.
Yes.
And actually a difference the way that we as Messianic Jews. So let's go over that. I want to paint the picture.
Okay,
but
before you do, I just want to tell our viewers that I arrived here at our campus this morning, and I was coming here early specifically to meet with Asher to spend some time in prayer over several things that we're dealing with. And I walked into his office, and he is dictating a message into his phone. And he's very serious guy, Asher, very serious. And he's wearing this blue wig, but he's talking into this phone as if his life is normal, and that I was like, you do know you're wearing a blue wig. So that was kind of funny. All right, go ahead.
Well, what happens is there's a big difference in Israel between the way the seculars celebrate it and the religious. The seculars, it's pretty easy. It's just sort of a fun holiday. And it's made up of having parties and getting dressed up. Everybody gets dressed up.
Right.
Now, among the seculars, I would say there's kind of half and half. Half of them are seeing this as a family time. It's time to spend time with your kids, to have a little fun with your children, eat together, and have them get dressed up. That's the unifying thing of Purim, is that everyone gets dressed up. It's kind of a masquerade time. Mm-hmm. For those with little children, so it's kind of a family fun time getting dressed up. But of course, then there's the other part of our society which uses this as basically a masquerade ball, right, and goes crazy with sin, let's put it that way. And so you have all different kinds of ranges of costumes from for the seculars, from a whole bunch of little princesses being like Esther, right, to being, of course, I would suggest probably this year the biggest selling out will probably be Wonder Woman. And then, right, but then it goes further than that, unfortunately, in our country with a lot of transvestites and other kinds of costumes of that. So it's a whole different celebration. So it ranges from sort of some fun family time to really extreme excuses for doing something wrong.
My first year of living in Israel, obviously I've celebrated Purim my whole life, because Jews celebrate it all over the world. But in Israel, it's different because the whole country's doing it. My first year here, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but there was a fictional character on Eretz Nehederet, A Wonderful Country, which is our version of Saturday Night Live. And this woman, she was a Russian immigrant who worked in the grocery store, which is a stereotype.
Right.
And her name was Luba. So she was really famous at the time. So I decided to dress up as Luba. And Ilan and I, we went out to dinner that night, and there was a contest at the restaurant. And I couldn't speak Hebrew. I didn't know what I was doing, but I came in second place. I got a free DVD player. I lost, and this is really horrible. I lost. I can't even say who I lost to. The costume was so not good. I won't say it. But
I can understand.
So people do take it to extremes.
Right.
And but in America, it's primarily, or I should say, in other nations, Jewish communities primarily stick to dressing up as biblical characters.
Yeah, it's a little more, has a little more religious tone in places outside of Israel. The secular Israeli celebration is a little unique to this country. Now, of course, we do have the largest part of the celebration here is from the Ultraorthodox.
Right.
And the Ultra-Orthodox do several things. One of the things which is nice on Orthodox celebration of Jewish holidays is that they will read the section from the Bible.
Right.
So actually on Purim, they will read the entire scroll of Esther from beginning to end.
We call it the Megillah.
The Megillah, and they will read it from beginning to end, which is very nice. And of course, there'll be a lot of the prayers. And for there, the costumes are much more, percentage-wise, much more the just the figures. Well, just the figures from a lot of Esther's and a lot of Mordecai's. Basically, is what you have.
And a few Hamans
coming out. Yeah. But then when you get, and that's interesting, of course, it was when they read the scroll out loud, and we do the same thing as Messianic Jews. When we read the scroll out loud, when you come, every time you mention the name Mordecai, everybody goes,
Haman.
yay!
Oh, yeah.
And then when you mention the name of Haman, everybody goes, boo! So it's an interactive family time. It's actually a very nice holiday for children. We always have different kind of children's celebration. For the Orthodox, there is something a little unique about this holiday, in that because they say you're supposed to be happy, and there was an extra rabbinic tradition that was added later on that you're allowed to drink alcoholic drinks in this holiday. So much so there's even one little thing what they call the ad lo yada, which means until you don't even know the difference between Mordecai and Haman. So there's kind of a little special permission to go to drink in excess on this holiday, which I don't really know of anything else in Jewish culture. So it's just for one night, but it is a little chance, I guess, even for the Ultra-Orthodox to let go. So you have that extreme.
We have special food as well. We actually, now this is kind of weird, but we make little cookies in the shape of Haman's ears.
Yes, well, they can be in the shape of Haman's ears, but yes, it depends in different cultures. But here in Israel, there's no doubt that part of it is eating a special little cookie. It's amazing how we can come up with eating different kind of cookies and sweets for every holiday.
As long as we get to eat, it doesn't matter if it's an ear or
nose.
nose.
We'll have to do another program when it comes to Passover, because that one you're not supposed to eat any leavened bread. We eat more cake that week than we eat any other week. But yes, there is a little sweet little rolled up a cookie with jam in the middle, which is very special, which we eat for this holiday. So that's nice. So then the question is, well, what do we do as Messianic Jews?
Right.
Our celebration is probably a little bit closer to the religious side in that we get together. We do have a lot of fun events. We try to plan at this time fun events for children. We do ask everyone in the congregation to get dressed up, and I get dressed up. In our congregations, maybe a lot of the people will dress up as the figures in the book of Esther. Of course, we'll have 50 different little girls who are all little Esthers growing up in little pink princess costumes, and we have to decide which one is the prettiest, so that's always a challenge. But then other people do some fun kind of family things that people put into creative time to making little family fun costumes. Not too many of us go to the wild side, of course not. And
one of our pastors, Moti, last year, he came as fake news.
As fake news.
Another one dressed up as Donald Trump. So a lot of folks like to take pop
Yeah.
culture and infuse that into their
I
costume.
used to most of the time come as Haman just because I figured somebody had to bring that
Someone's
into
gotta do
the.
it.
Someone has to do it. So, but we have a time of prayer. Of course, we've just had our Esther fast. We fast and pray, and then we'll study the Bible. We'll read through different parts of the book of Esther, have a teaching on that, having a time of prayer and worship, and then open up to a family celebration time. We'll have games for the children and so on. So it's a very special time, and it is fun, and it is biblically based. And as we noted previously, that really it even has prophetic significance, because even as
Right.
we're celebrating today, we see that things happening in Iran, Persia, anti-Semitism, anti-Israel, the UN. It's all what happened in the book of Esther is happening to us today. So it's for us today, it's an amazing thing on Jewish holidays. You're celebrating something from the past, but you feel like, hey, this hasn't gone away. This is still happening to us.
I'm just still realizing you've got blue hair. You
Blue
should wear
hair.
that all the time. It
Should I
looks
wear it
really
all
good
the
on
time, or you think we're getting enough for me to take it off now?
No, leave it on.
All right,
We're
we'll
almost
leave it on,
done.
all right.
In our congregation, Tiferet Yeshua in Tel Aviv, we do a Purim outreach every year, and we get several dozen unbelievers, Israelis, that come to the congregation. So it's a time that you can be in agreement with us in prayer, which will be next Friday at 4 p.m. in Tel Aviv, 4 p.m. Israel time, is we'll have our special Purim outreach service. Let me ask you this one final question, Asher. We've talked about how Orthodox Jews celebrate Purim, how secular Jews celebrate Purim, how we as Messianic Jews celebrate Purim. But there are probably Christians around the world. Some are watching us right now saying, I'd like to celebrate Purim. How can they be involved in the holiday of Purim?
Well, that's a complex question in some ways. I would say this. I feel that for everyone who is a born-again believer in Yeshua, that believes in the Bible, what you want to do on the holidays is at least read the scriptures.
Right.
And understand the heart significance. So I would say no one who's a believer anyway should ignore that.
Right.
Because the historic scriptures also have present tense meaning and future prophetic meaning. So you want to use the holiday to be a time of meditation and teaching and thinking and examining what are the biblical principles according to this today. I think it's a good opportunity. Now, nobody has to. It's a good opportunity to pray and fast. It's a good opportunity to read the book of Esther. And it's a good opportunity to think about how does that apply to us today. And also a good opportunity for Christians around the world to realize that they are covenantally connected with the Jewish people. In other words, should there be anti-Semitic events in the end times, it's likely that those things are going to turn against true born-again Christians as well.
Absolutely.
So we have to, it's also a time to think through, hey, what is the connection between Israel, between the Jewish people and Christians? How does that happen? Now, when you talk about celebrations, there is no demand on Christians anywhere to celebrate it. If they know Messianic Jews, they're free to join in. They're free to go to a Christian, to go to a local Jewish synagogue and join in. But I don't think they should do it as if, okay, now I've become Jew and I'm joining it. They can come in and say, I'm a Christian. I want to join in and enjoy your celebration together with you. So basically we say, we do want to understand the biblical heart meaning. If you want to celebrate now, there's freedom to do that culturally, and just but don't feel like you're either under something that you have to do, and don't feel like you have to be a Jew, and don't feel like there's something better about being Jew. It happens to be a cultural celebration of our people, and you're welcome to join in it if you like to.
Okay, I said that was my last question, but here's my second last question. Give me three
That's
real
a Jewish
quick,
response.
right. Give me three, real quickly, three biblical themes of the book of Esther that we can take away, practical, that I can use in my life today.
Well, one thing is that there is a spirit of anti-Semitism in the world, which classically was just anti-Semitism. Today, it's really becoming not only anti-Semitism, but anti-Israel, and actually anti-Christian. It's interesting, as you note, in a lot of the countries in the world where you have a religious persecution of Jews, either religious persecution of Christians, I mean, either from communist regimes or Islamic regimes, and even regimes where there are Christian denominations, old forms of Catholicism that attack evangelicals. They really don't mind if you just talk about Jesus. It's when you sort of bring that into sort of some modern significance, that's when you'll be attacked. So I think what's going to happen is that it may very well happen in the end times that it'll be okay for people just to sort of believe in Jesus and want to go to heaven. But don't have there be a kingdom emphasis. Don't have it be connected to Israel.
Right.
So the Israel connection is going to be dangerous for true Bible-believing Christians, and obviously for Messianic Jews. We get it on both sides, and also for Israelis. So the spirit of what was in anti-Semitism there, Haman wanting to kill the Jews, that is a biblical principle. Is actually trying to stop the coming of the Messiah. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. Jewish people don't know why. Why is there anti-Semitism? Why do people want to kill us? But it has to do with a spiritual battle to stop the coming of the Messiah. So that we need to know about. A second thing is the whole aspect of intercessory prayer.
Right.
And how we can get involved and make history, shape history for the future, see how things are happening, and realize that as we agree together, as Jewish people, Messianic Jews, international Christians, we read the Bible, we understand God's plan, and come into an agreement to prayer, we can change things in politics and government, in history. We can change things from bad to good. We can take bad situations and change them to good. And the last thing I wanted to say that I get particularly excited about, that I feel people miss in the book, if you look at the last few chapters of the book of Esther, there's actually a revival that takes place. Mm-hmm. People around the world start believing in the God of Israel. Mm-hmm. And in nations, in there was 127 nations. Could we believe that out of understanding biblical strategy, praying together, could we not only stop persecution against Jews and Christians, mm-hmm. but could it actually even release, on the basis of the book of Esther, release revival, evangelism, a turning of hearts, a changing of the UN? Could something good come out of it? I believe so. There is a great, good, happy revival, kingdom change ending to that book, and that's what we want to go for, not just eat cookies and not just complain about anti-Semitism.
And I'll throw in two more. One is the courage of Esther. Is she had to make a choice, and she chose to go and confront Haman or tell the king what Haman was. She could have lost her life. So there's a message of courage in that when you step out in faith, God will back you up. And then the issue of the favor of God on Mordecai, that he everything was against him. The most powerful, creepy dude in the country wanted to kill him, and God kept turning it around. No matter how much Haman tried to curse or hurt Mordecai, Mordecai would end up being the one blessed. You know, Haman had to take him around the city and say, hey, this is the dude that the king favors. So, you know, you don't have to worry about your life at home. If God is for you, who can be against you? So those are just some practical things that we can take away from the book of Esther. So it's Purim. Celebrate.
Don't forget to send in a like if you like my blue wig here.
If you like his blue wig, make sure that you like this post, share it with your friends, and if you want to make a comment about his blue wig, how beautiful he looks in it, feel free to do that in the comments section. But we want to just thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you would like to get Asher's book that he wrote wearing that wig, he never took it off until the book was finished, called Alignment, one of the most powerful prophetic books I have read in my lifetime. You can get it free at alignmentbook.org. And we will see you again very soon.
And be happy.
It's
a
Purim,
time to be happy.
Rejoice, be happy. We'll see you again soon on Revive Live. Thank you so much. Shalom from the foothills of Judea.